We're going to talk the Open, and the topic of today will be golf shafts, how they're made in the profiles, how they rate the fitting. All that coming up next on What's in My Drawers Golf Talk. Welcome back to the McGolf Shop. Jim McCleary here, six-time top 100 best Golf Digest club fitters, and the last International Club Maker of the Year. And why is it what's in my drawers? Well, it's because old club fitters, club makers are tremendous pack rats, and I'm no different. That's how it started, right? We started talking about the stuff that was in the drawers, and it turned out to be quite the conversation. And now we're talking every Monday at this time frame for however long it takes, and we're going to talk about golf equipment, fitting, repairs, opinions, and some of the other stuff that goes on around there. Okay, so big topic. Cameron Smith. Man, that dude played out. He played some heck of good golf, didn't he? There were some shots that now, I got to watch the last, say, a little bit under 9 holes, so last 7 or 8 holes. And what it came down to is, everybody was cheering for Rory and they were making Smith to be the villain. And I don't understand that part of it. It's whoever plays the best golf. Now I get it. He was a fan favorite, but, uh, that's just like setting somebody up for failure. And, however, Rory did not play bad golf. He played a very consistent line of golf. However, Cameron played golf that was just a whole nother level higher. Let's face it, man. When you make those putts are going that goes around a sand trap, I mean, come on. When you're getting putts up in there like that, and you're leaving yourself, and you're making clutch shots, I mean, the world, all the world's going your way. And then how about Cameron Young? And both these guys are, they're not real big guys. Well, even Rory's not a real big guy, and they were all bombing the ball. I mean, they're all within, a small chip on 17 or on 18. I mean, it was really, really well done. So I just think it was I think it was probably one of the better opens. I mean, I like the one with Shane Lowry. Don't get me wrong, I thought that was cool too. But I mean, he kind of had it in the bag coming up. Where, I mean, a guy has to have an eagle to leapfrog a guy to go from third to second and pulls it off. That's pretty spectacular stuff. So that was pretty cool. Now the other part is that most people probably didn't know that there was another tournament going on, the Barracuda. Now I went over and checked it out, and I don't think I'm a fan of the format where you get points for the way that you golf, but hey, it's a way of golfing. And a Cupcho, I think it was the one that won it. I don't know what the man's first name is, but congratulations to him too. So hopefully we see more from Mr. Cameron going forward now that he's broken through the ceiling. Let's see if he can do some more and put the heat on some fellas. If you stayed around after he got the claret jug, they all talked about, he was being very, the guy is very simple. He's very real. He's like, well, I think I'm going to find out how many beers fall into this thing. The guy was really nice. And he was very honest about being considered lazy in the whole 9 yards. And then he worked and he wasn't. And then that's the result. So good for him, right? Good for him. That's what that one's at. All right. I wanted to bring to your guys' attention I took a lot of pictures, but we're not going to do much with that one today. Is that Tura Golf? Now, I'm not advocating them by any shape of the imagination, and you guys saw the video, but we're doing another set for the same individual, and this is their set. I was able to keep the plastic on, and that's what it looks like. And we're using the exact same shafts with a more aggressive grip. Those were the Lampkin grips, and with the MMTs on them. Now, what this was is these MMT 80s. They come in stiff. These were the parallel tips, so I could trim them down, and I did. And then we trimmed them all. He wanted them all to be the same length, which they were, and they were bent 1 degree, which they are. And he said he wanted me to blueprint them, and I did. And it was kind of funny that they were all within. The heads were all the same weight, and they were all within like 3 grams of each other. So not bad, right? Not bad at all. So I enjoyed that. That was pretty cool. And then for the weekend, pork loin, little barbecue pork loin right there. I did a bacon wrapped one too. I just don't have the picture of it. I guess I could bring it on here if I wanted to. But we did pretty good with that. So it was a good weekend all in all. I actually got out there after my super embarrassing round with Matt. I did much better. And then last Sunday, it was supposed to be 60% chance of rain, particularly when we were getting ready to come off the course. And I coaxed my dad to show up, and I keep this picture. Wasn't that day, but there they are. Anyway, I coaxed him out there, and we got around. I got around in an 84, and the only reason why I was 84 is we were on the last 3 holes. It got like nighttime kind of dark because the cloud coverage came in. Matt, you would have just thought you would have said, now the rain is coming, and it did. But it held off until I had gotten a drive on 18. We were clear all the way up through 18. It was just overcast the whole time. And the words just came out of my mouth, and I said, "It looks like we're going to escape the rain." I mean, the timing couldn't have been more impeccable. And so it was pretty funny. And I mean, it was coming down in raindrops this big around. It was something else. It was something. It truly was something remarkable. And I just picked up and I just took the score and moved on. And so that was kind of fun. My chipping was horrendous. Everything else wasn't too bad. So there's that one. All right. Shafts. All right. Golf shafts. Now, the reason why I bring the golf shafts up is Accra. I have done something that I haven't done in well over 20 years, and that's change. That's change in my fitting selection. I have now moved over to Accra. Right. Let's see. Here we go. And Accra worked with me on these, and these are some 60 gram stiff flex shafts. And what I did is I measured them all out, and that's not one. And I measured them all out in order for me to test for length. Okay. That's me testing for length. And this is what we do. I've had some UST yellow, back in the purple and yellow days, they were called XL lights. After 20 years, they've simply been a workhorse. They've been a really, really good shaft. However, they were getting dated. And I like what they did. I like what they were. The yellow set them apart, so I knew exactly where they were at. However, it was just time for the change. And so after much deliberation, so I weighed them all, got them cut, put new tips on them, put new grips on them, and now I have a set of 5 or 6, goes from 43.5 all the way up to 45.5. And I'm probably going to put 2 more in the lineup for 43 and 46 for the very, very short, or the kid, and the extraordinarily tall. But why did I do that? Well, these things are extraordinarily consistent, okay? And these are the I series, so we're going to work our way up. This is the I series. This is what we will call their base model. And they come in a variety of weights. Now, the brilliant thing here with Accra is that they kind of work differently in the different models that they have. In the I series, they start at 40, and I believe they go all the way up to 80. And they go up to 80, and these things are, and what happens as they get lighter in weight, the flex gets more flexible, and vice versa going up. One of the most consistent feels across the board, right, from weight class to weight class. Now, it's not to say that the profiles won't change a little bit, but from weight class to weight class. Now, again, they take very, very big pride in that if you get an S in this one, you go into a weight class down an S, it's going to be very, very similar, if not right on. And the thing is, this is very affordable, right? This one is very, very, very affordable. And for a baseline model, somebody saying, "Hey, I just broke my shaft. Do you got something for me?" Boom. Hey, I need something that's 40. I need a 40 gram. Lady comes in. I need a 40 gram shaft. Needs to be very flexible. Boom. Hey, I'm looking for something that's very, very stout, but I don't want to pay a lot of money. Boom, right there. And you're still going to get your time. You're still going to get all your stuff from a business point of view, and the golfer is going to get something that's going to work very, very well. All right. So there's that one. So in the way that we make golf shafts, there's plenty of variations out there, but there are two kinds. There's a what they would call sheet wrapping, and the other one is filament winding. Now there are hybrids one way or to another, and how you put up the filament and how you do the sheet wrapping, that's all technology and different ways of showing how that you can build it. There's even different weaves out there. What I'm just talking about, the basic, there's two: sheet wrapping and filament winding. Now, sheet wrapping is if you look at graphite when they first make it, it looks like a sheet of black paper and different lengths, and then you can see the grain in it. And this the size of the sheet, which they call pre-preg, the size of the sheet and the way that the grain goes, depending on the way the manufacturer would want it, right? Because there's 10,000 shafts out there with 10,000 different profiles, and those pre-pregs lay in different dimensions. They might have one at a 45, one at a 45, one at a 90, one at whatever, in order to get their profile that they're looking for. And it wraps around a mandrel, and it's press fitted. If you look on True Temper, because True Temper and Acura are consolidated now, that they show this thing wraps and then it rolls this thing over, and it's a platen that the shaft sits on a table, and then this platen comes down and presses on it and then rolls it, and that's what gets it on the mandrel, and the mandrel gives it its shape. Now, after so many layers, so many differences, then you've built yourself a shaft, and then it goes on through the labeling and the painting and all that stuff. Now, filament winding is a little different. I call filament winding a bait caster reel. So if you had, let's assume that this is a mandrel, and what they do is, and this is again very simplified, is that if you're to take a string of graphite and wrap and tie it to the end of the mandrel, and this graphite goes through an epoxy bath and then gets up onto here, and now at the end over here, it's held on by what's the word I'm looking for? Like the end of a milling machine, and all it does is turn. That's all it does. It makes it do this. Okay. Now at the other end where you've put it, you got that string, and then there's a guide. And as this thing's turning, this guide moves up and down and up and down, and maybe up and down real quick, and then up and down until it's totally wrapped up, and you get whatever. Again, there's different ways of wrapping this thing at different angles and all kinds of stuff, and now the layers, in order to get the particular profile that they want to get. Albeit I believe it would be limited. All right, and that gate. So it reminds me of a bait caster reel. That is the width of a golf shaft. That's the reason why you get to see, when you see those shafts on there and they put the acrylic paint on the outside, it looks like a diamond pattern, because that's the way that it was rolled out onto the shaft. And again, once that's all done, goes out, goes through its process of being finished, painted, labeled, the whole 9 yards. That's the two of them. Okay, now back to Acura. So when you get there, oh, I get itchy. We went through their first line, which is a real. It fits most of the average golfers. I've put dozens and dozens and dozens of these things in other clubs, and they work just fine. If we go into their next one, and this is the reason why profile is important, we go into their next line, and it's the FX. All right, the FX line. And the FX line comes in three different colors, as you guys can see. There's a red, there's a blue, and there's a green. All right. And actually, they probably ought to look like that. All right. So the blue is the high, green is the mid, and red is the low, as far as what they say for launch. Now, these guys are made in a slightly different fashion, in that different materials, little nicer materials, and different and slightly different profiles. Now we have several weights in this color, several weights in that color, and several weights in this color. Now we also have several weights, and we also have several and different flexes. Now it's not like a giant multitude of them. They've gone back and they've used a lot of statistical works and what works best in those classes. So it's not infinite in their selection, but it's fairly large. And then what you can do is choose, if somebody wants to hit the little ball a little bit higher, maybe blue. If somebody's the average golfer, maybe a tad stronger, maybe the green. If somebody's very, very strong and wants to hit a lower ball, maybe the red. And I keep saying maybe on this because as golfers, we are just as different as night and day. Now, why do I say this? What changes? That's where we start talking about profile, right? That's where we start talking about profile. When you hear people talking about profile in the simplest forms, it's basically an analysis of what this thing looks like from one end to the other. Now, the what you will see in shaft manufacturers will typically use what's called an EI curve. And the EI curve measures this shaft about every half of an inch. Measures it every half of an inch all the way down, and it's measuring it for torque, flex, all the little specifics that they do, measuring all those different things so that they can get the curve that you guys will see on their websites. So you see those curves or they'll go like this and they take off in outer space, just whatever it is you want. Glenfiddich, by the way. Anyway, so in each one of these, when they measure them so that they know, right? Now you have this profile that they've dedicated it to, and then you go test to see which one it works on, which is a twofold positive because now you say, oh, this profile works really good with this style of golfer, and then they can make that recommendation. Now they have it in their database so that they know how to change it if they want it. If they say, well, the golfers are complaining about not hitting it high enough or not hitting it low enough or lowering the spin a little bit, blah, 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 blah. Then they can tweak these profiles and have a really good idea of where they're going to be going with the resultant of it. Okay. So you've gone from a shaft that's weight class oriented, meaning the lighter the shaft, the more flexible the shaft, and the heavier, and vice versa, right? To something that now is specific in its profile, right? With different colors for different attributes, a little nicer. I think these things are totally underrated. All right, completely and totally underrated. And in order to obtain feel, ball flights, weights, flexes, the whole 9 yards. Now, and the last bit is I've done the video on these guys, and these are the TZ line, the TZ5 and the TZ6. Now this is the what we'll call the tour level or the upper tier level of golf shafts. Again, tighter specs, better materials, certain types of people that they're looking for, guys that are striking the ball and they're swinging very, very well. Now there's another one in here. There's an RPG, but that's not from these guys. But they do make one that it's like a bazooka. Anyway, and the TZ line, and they have one, and it's really kind of crazy what these guys did in order to they played with torque, and they played with torque in midsection in order to give a particular feel for a particular golfer. And you don't hear a lot of golf shaft companies promoting torque. UST did back in the day, and they had a white, a silver, a red, a silver, a black. I believe there's one more color. Anyway, they were all the same weight, all the same flex. The torque was much different. Now, upon more feel, the lower the torque, the little stiffer it got. But however, they were using Torcas for face closure, and that's part that way. All right. And anyway, these guys went and dealt with that, and they made an outstanding golf shaft to the point it's being used on tour, whether it be in a driver, fairway, or hybrid. Every once in a while you'll see it in there, and you'll see a little Acra logo, and it's really, really cool because these aren't short of it just being Acra, it's not a very, very large company. But once they're with True Temper, now all of a sudden they have this huge amount of resources available to them. So they're able to pull off some stuff now that most shaft companies are not. All right, last bit of it, and then we'll talk about profiling. So, and here's the last one. I'm just really happy that I got into these. These are Project X's VRTX. Now, this is kind of we'll call it a work in progress because Acura has been helping guide the Project X / True Temper folks going through this. And that VRTX is off of the Project X platform, but they're club maker only shafts. The red ones, high ball flight, blue ones, low ball flight. And just to I wrote them down a while time. So the red ones have a 40, 50, 60 gram. The 40 comes in ladies and A. The 50 comes in A and R, and the 60 comes R and S, and different. They give them different flex numbers. The blue comes in a 50, it's in an R and S. The 60 comes in an R, S, and X, and the 70 comes in an S and an X. So you see how they've staggered a lot what's going on. I have found these things to be awesome. All right, they work very, very well. They don't want, and they work very, very well. And again, they're not in the same price point category as these, but they're certainly way more. They're way more affordable than some of those crazy price ones out there, to be sure. I have found personally, my personal effect is, I have found these guys right here work extraordinarily well in the Mizuno product. Better so than some of the stuff that was in there before. And I really like that. Now, the last bit of this profile. All right, each one of these have a different profile. We talk about it from when you hear people discuss on the platform or on platforms or even wherever, they're going to be discussing in about 3 sections. One is going to be the butt section, one's going to be in the mid section, and then the other one's going to be in the tip section. Butt, mid, tip, okay? And those are how they're just easily described in order to help the normal golfer or even the club maker for that matter be able to get at least something that is close, at least what would we take as a standard to help fit people, okay? So you've heard that, and I'm going to break a myth right here. You've heard that if you can't get the club head closed to bring around, you need a much more flexible tip section. And although that can be true, all right, that can be true, I have found that if the butt section is a little more flexible than the rest of it here, right, that you have more luck. Okay, you have more luck. Give me just a second. And what do I mean by luck? Well, so typically, your guy that slices or can't get the club closed does this cast. It's like, does this cast. And that tip section is a little bit small to be caught up at the very end. And I like using one that has a softer butt section so the whole club comes around and you have a little bit more solid shot. Now, is that a cure-all, end-all all the time? Absolutely not. All right, absolutely not. The opposite could be true. Oh, I want to hit a low ball, so it's got to be totally stiff. It's got to be totally a rebar in order for it to go low. Again, some cases, yes. A lot of cases, you might find that the midsection needs to be a tad softer in order for it to kick so that the doggone thing will kick shut. And that when a club kicks shut, the loft goes down and there it goes. So there's a lot of difference going on. And how do you deal with that? You deal with it from when the golfer brings the club back, right? When they go, and then how they pull down, and then their tempo and how they get to the release. That's how that works. I'm gonna push this back a little bit more. There we go. I feel like I'm just all kinds of crowded in. Okay. So this is not a cure-all end all what I'm telling you about. What I'm trying to tell you is there's multiple profiles out there for multiple type golfers. It is not a one-size-fits-all kind of arena. And then last but not least, and no, Acura is not sponsoring me on this. I just think that they make a great club or a great shaft. Is that they have the I series that gets them in. That's their first tier. You got the FX tier, which is a nicer, and I mean, there's more to it to be sure. More choices. Oh, we're going to cover one more thing, and then you have the TZ line, which is for that strong golfer, guy that can just, or even the golfer that can find the middle of the club face. It will really rocket it off. Now, why am I so up on these guys? Well, number one is they're one of very few. There's only one of two, again, one of two club companies that actually make a fairway wood. All right, a fairway wood shaft. All right, now Acra, I'm putting these down so they won't fall while I'm talking, takes the time to do dynamic matching. And that means that the profile is not the same. It's not just heavier and you cut it shorter. It's not that way. They've done some dynamic matching in order to give you a true to life, no kidding fairway wood. And in that way, you have it dynamically works with your driver if you need that. They also have a hybrid shaft in that same family, again, so you have the same types of dynamics. I don't understand why that's not awesome, right? I think it's fantastic, and there's only one other company out there doing it, and that, as far as I understand, is Graphite Design. And so these are, and it just so happens they're the two companies I've got, right? And I think that these guys do a great job. Acra just happens to be about 6 hours to my north, maybe a little bit more, 6 or 7, 6. Anyway, they're a great group of folks. So that's all I wanted to talk to you about that on. Okay, hopefully we got it. Woo-wee. Let's see what we got on numbers here. Matt, shot of 67. You are the man as always. 67. How do you mentally get there on a 67? That's awesome. Okay, because most folks that are doing this, when they finally start getting to their goal, they start trying to figure out new and creative ways to not get there. How you break through and make that happen, that's just amazing. Okay, wooden tees or plastic tees? He mentioned that when we were playing. Fortunately, I'm a plastic tee guy. I like the zero frictions. I used to have, what you remember, the firecracker tees that had the three prongs and they had little golf balls on the end of them, and they had some science behind them. The thing was is that the doggone thing lasted. I think I still have one. I have one left, and I bet this thing is easily 8 to 9 years old. All right, 8 to 9 years old. So, but I'm a plastic guy. In a pinch, on a like on a if I need to tee it down for, say, an iron shot, which I don't do regularly, then it will be a wood one. Charles, shot 79 with a triple and a double. Yes. Well done, sir. There you go. Anyway, yes, he did, and we talked about that. And there you are. Hello. Look at Matt are looking at playing the heat wave. Going to experiencing soon. Right now, Charlie, over here we just had rain. In fact, it's still it's stopped. However, and we're going to experience some 80s weather. Right, it's going to be 80s, and then it'll get up into the 90s. So towards the end of the week, it's going to get quite miserable. Emmanuel, what are you saying, sir? Wood tees for you, Western birch, great round mat. How do you? Here we go. How do you measure total club weight, not swing weight, without taking the club apart? Oh, there's a good one. I like it. I like this question. All right, so there's a lot of things that you have to take into account for total weight. All right, number one, the head. Number two, the shaft. Number three, the grip. And then some miscellaneous stuff like grip tape, your glue, and a little bit of the ferrule. All right. You can get into a general area, so to speak, right? A general area. And the finding the grip, that's easy. So what you do is you have a total weight and you break them down into their component parts. The grip is typically pretty close. So you can look up the grip and it's 45, 48, 51, 59, 60, whatever that number is. And that just took off that total weight. Then it's the head weight. The head weight is depending on the manufacturer, right? As a whole, in norm, like Wilson's and other club manufacturers, from when everything started, I always start stuff up with a 5-iron, and we run around 256, right around that number, give or take a gram. That would be normal. However, I have found when measuring for building other ones like Mizunos and Srixons and whatnot, that they build theirs light, and they're at like 252. So it also takes into account the manufacturer. Now, I suspect, if I haven't done a correlation, but I suspect that the swing weights of the iron, say from a Wilson to a Mizuno, the Wilson would be heavier by at least a swing weight or two, and that would correlate with the 4 grams. Then all you have left is basically this shaft, minus about, you figure, I figured between 1 and 3 grams for the ferrule, and it depends on if it's a shorty or a longy, right? It's plastic, it's not that heavy. And then maybe another half a gram in glue, and then maybe another gram or two in tape, right? If you just took up one and balled it up and put it on your scale, you'd know instantly. But it's not very much. All three of those combined, maybe 4 grams, maybe 6 grams tops, and there you get. So everybody go, well, I got this XP95, it needs to be 95 grams. Not, all right, because the XP95 might be 95 grams total length, and you just snapped off 1.5 inches at one end and another 1/2 inch to the other. Now it's not 95 anymore. It could be that you get another shaft that says it's a 105, and you measure it and it's a 109, and that's because when they trim it down, it really is 105. Each manufacturer is different. There you go, right? So that's how I break them down in their component parts. Woo! Good question, buddy. Good question. All right. There you go. There's Peter. What do you say, Peter? So Mrs. McGolf wants me to ask you this question. If you're still out there, he's wanting me to ask this question, in that we're going down to Myrtle Beach first week of September, and we had at the place we're staying, it's basically a condo resort thingy, and the guy that's helping us find our golf, his name is Peter, and she wanted to know, is that the same Peter? I said, I doubt it, but I'll ask. So there you go. You've been asked, or if you're not the same Peter. She was going to give me a list of the golf courses that we're going to play. Maybe we can cover that next week. All righty, let's go. No kidding, buddy. No kidding. Chris Foddy, what do you say, buddy? Have been a while. I'm building a much shorter and heavier driver, a 460 head, 95 gram pro launch shaft, in order to keep my same swing weight. Okay. Oh, I need to know if a 10 gram tip weight will create a draw or how it will affect the club's performance. Okay, we can talk about that one. That's a good question, too. Driver. Let's just go around the horn. We used everybody else out. We might as well use these guys, too. So, golf club. All right, so we're making a heavier shaft, and we're making a shorter shaft, and that's going to kind of keep things in the balance until we put in a 10 gram weight, and the 10 gram weight's going to go in here. All right, this is a Srixon ZX7, all right, or ZX7 for those of us in the States. Now, just so happens 10 grams is just more than enough of that, where if you stick it down in here, what will typically happen is the center of gravity is going to move towards the heel about that much max. All right. I tested that. I tested it with Mizuno, and I tested it with another company. I just dropped a 10 gram weight in there. I have a center of gravity finder, of course, and it did. It moved it about 1/4 inch. Now, keep in mind, everybody, 1/4 inch, oh my God, that's forever. 1/4 inch, man. 1/4 inch. There you go. It's that big. All right. So it will move it. The other part is that if you put it right here, it's going to want to shut the club because now effectively the toe is lighter and it's going to want to do that. So that's what happens when you put in a massively heavy weight. Now, if you're somebody that holds the club open, this might be a good thing, particularly if you're fading it. Hopefully that helps, man. There you go, past my prime. Hey, all, missed last Monday because I was at the range. Pistol type, hoorah. You know, I've got a Walther PDP that I have yet to shoot. That's a travesty. But watched it on replay. Good for you, and thank you very much. Oh, since he's reminded me, great lead-in, dude. If you would, like, subscribe, right? Hit that bell down at the bottom. You get notifications, all the stuff. I actually have a video loaded, right? I've got a video loaded, and it's an interesting one, I think. You guys will like it. Which brings me to another topic before we keep going down here. I've done a bunch of filming for a course review. Okay, the one I've been playing, Matt played on it, me and Bob play on it, me and Dad play on it. I've done a lot of flying over. I've done some hitting in front of it. We've done some rolling shots of just the camera being in the golf cart going that way. If you guys watch this kind of stuff on these reviews, and I've went out and looked at it, you know, and they got the cool little thing where they show the ball going out. That's nice. But what interests you most on a golf course review? Is it the information about the course? Is it being able to see it? Is it seeing how the person plays on it? What is it that you like to see? Do you like overviews, like drone footage? Let me know what you think so I can actually make something that people will want to watch. All right. Yes. Kurt Evans, what do you say? Martini T for the driver, wishing Golf Pride would remake the Titleist babyback T grip that Cam has on a stock grip, unique feel. Yep. Brandon, what do you say, sir? How are you? Well, Mrs. McGolf and I were already talking about making a visit across the pond next year. It's going to be epic, right? We are going to be celebrating our 40th, and it'll be my 60th, and we're gonna make a trip of it. We just haven't figured out when. We're gonna probably go through the northern end and then hit Scotland and make a real long. See how many friends we can make. Wooden tees for past my prime. The Stinger brand. I remember those things. I'm not familiar with Titleist back there. What characteristics make it different? Oh, maybe we'll get him to tell us. Krister, did I see you? Was it you that shot the hole in one? I saw somebody. Now, you've seen Krister's feed as far as his Instagram stuff goes. I've seen it. Some dude basically ran the length of a golf course or a golf hole with it, carrying his golf bag on his back and running to find the golf ball in the hole. Was it you? I don't know. Nicely done, though. Well done on the stuff. All right. Brennan, is it easy to cut the 34 Tri-Hot to 33? Unbelievable how much it takes. It is easy to cut it down. However, you're going to have to, when you remove the grip, there's going to be a weight in the back. All right, because it has the Stroke Lab shaft, and it's going to have a weight about 1.5 inches to 2 inches long. It's going to look like a little brass bullet casing, and you're going to have to pull it out. One of the easiest ways to do it is if you get over here they're called drywall screws. It's a screw with kind of a coarse thread so that it engages in the hole that's in the back, and you have something to grab onto, and then it'll pull out fairly easy. Cut it down 1 inch, shove it back in, regrip it, and Bob's your uncle. Thanks, Charles and Manny. Looking forward to Heat Wave. Funny. So, there you go. Matt's a polar bear, though, man. He goes out and plays in all that stuff. Kurt Evans, Charles, unique feel in the fingertips. I can't describe it in words. Slight wipe with a damp towel activates the feel. Have one on his answer. Okay. What's the Callaway you would like looking to replace a X-Hot Pro 18 degree with a 17 degree or a hollow Apollo hybrid? Well, Brennan, if you're a guy, uh, the characteristics of the U wood is it's got a slightly larger head to give it like a smaller fairway wood kind of vibe. It's a hair flatter, much like the X-Hot Pro is, and the shaft in it is extraordinarily nice. So if I was going one for one in knowing what the X-Hot Pro does, because I had some of those, I would think the U would be a closer, uh, much more active club than would and be more appropriate than the Apex Pro Hybrid. All right, the Apex Pro is nice, but I don't think it is as flat. Right, but I think the U wood gets, especially for a guy that's a good golfer, they tend to like the U wood. Thanks. Yes, the driver works well for the moment, except for the big ultralight. I will replace it with an XL version. Okay. She did. She put Mrs. McGolf puts on a whole lot of grips, a whole lot. Yep. He said it holds about 2 beers. Well, that's probably depending. Well, keep in mind he's an Aussie, so if he's talking about those Foster's lagers, that's a heck of a beer. If he's talking about a regular beer, I'd think it's a few more than that. Oh, look at that. Charlie beat me to it. Look at that. Look at her getting in there trying and answering my stuff. Okay. Yeah, I tell you what, Charlie, and the barbecue. If I should go back in there and download this other one. Let's see if while I'm talking to you, I'll go over there and see if I can't find it. Oh, there's the beginning one. I'll download it here and we'll see when it shows up. Then I'll let you see it, how they were stacking up against each other. All right. So this what I use, Emmanuel, is I went out onto, where'd I go? Amazon, and I found a gram weight scale because you can go crazy expensive with that. I was really initially looking at an O house, stuff that they use in laboratories, and that's what I'm used to at my other work, and it's just too expensive. It just is for what we're going to use them for. Too expensive, but it goes to hundreds of grams, and it will measure in pounds and four other ones, tars, the whole nine yards. And it's a great little one. If you want, send me an email and I'll send you a picture and you can go look it up. I think I spent under, yeah, I probably spent right at $100, maybe a little bit less for it. Thing's a workhorse, and electric scale. Then what I use to balance everything is I got one of those little rubber clamps that you can get for like $3. I put that on there, and that's what I put the shafts on, the heads next to, all that stuff, so it doesn't roll off the platform of the scale. Yep. There you go, Mac. Well, it did on 18 yesterday, buddy. Oh yeah, for certain. There's Krister. Ah, okay. Todd Klein, how are you, sir? Does anyone publish golf grip length? I've found that on certain clubs that I choke down for chipping, a longer grip helps. I put on a Tour Velvet on one, and that was about an inch or so longer than my regular. Lampkin does have one, but seems to be out of stock. Well, that's exactly where I was going to go. Uh, that's where I was going to go with that, Todd, is that Lampkin makes a grip specifically for what you're talking about. Has two little dots at the bottom so you can have your normal grip and then your choke down grip in order to get down to that. As a whole, as far as length goes, most grips are pretty much about the same length. Yes, there's a few that are different, but the lambkin one we're talking about is specifically longer on purpose. There was another one. I think they called it a. Remember the secret grips? I think it was by Bocherry had those. Uh, the heavy putter folks. I think the secret grip, it had a back weight in it. It was a little bit longer as well, but I don't think that I don't even think they're making that one. And then the other one that's longer, actually, the Jumbo Max are a little bit longer as well. Art and Mimi James, where's the best place to buy a Ping shaft? Unless it's a pull from an original Ping club, the only place you're going to get the only place that well, you're not going to be able to buy it from them, but it's Ping. They will not sell their components by themselves. They are very stoic that way, and so you have to kind of go through, depending on whether it's for an iron or a driver. There are shaft comparison charts out there that can get you very, very close. Now, if it's a newer one, Art or Mimi, if it's a newer Ping club, I would call customer service, give them the serial number, and ask them if they will repair it under a warranty if it's newer, or if they can repair it at all. Because you would be guaranteed to get something that is either dead on the same one or something very, very close. All right. Is there a way to quiet the face of a Ping 425? Yes, there is, but I don't like it. There have been guys that have taken the thing apart and shoved in some of that foam that expands. I wouldn't recommend it because I've seen it where people fill it up too much and then they put the cap back on it and it busts the club. I do not like that. I've seen people put in cotton wadding in there and fill it up, and that certainly mutes it. But I also think that it will also change. It also changed the performances in it because you put stuff in that head. It just depends on what you wanted to do with it. Those are the ones that, as far as muting goes, there's another way of doing it. There's it's not a total muting. It's just a slight changing of the sound. People have put rattle stop in the bottom of it, and that one's probably a little bit better. It all sits on the bottom of the club to give you a little bit of a rise in it. But again, if it just makes too much noise, I wear earplugs. I hate to sound like a total jerk on this one, but there's folks that have done those, and you're more than welcome to try. But I would start with little cotton balls maybe and see what you can do and throw enough in there until you feel pretty good about it and see if it mutes it down. Just my 2 cents, but I think the show is easier to watch when you're in front of the shaft wall. Yeah. This is, the funny part is if I go away, see how much easier that is to see back there? And then it does that, it blows out. I'm not quite certain how that camera does that, but we're gonna change it around. Big Al, how much would the swing weight change now since extended? All right, how much would the swing weight change? Now since extended, he can hit them, but also got mid-sized multi-compound grips. With the extension of the new grips, would the swing weight be that much out? Okay, so here's where so we extended a club. It depends on the extension and it depends on the multi-compound. Okay, normally you can get really close. So if you extend something a half an inch, we're talking 3 swing weight points, right? And an inch is, or is it? No, yeah, it's 6 swing weight points for an inch. Now, if you did 3 swing weight points in the butt, on the average, it's around 12 grams change in that. And you normally don't go up 12 grams. So chances are he may have actually got a slightly lighter swing weight. However, there's more weight in their hands and it probably won't detect the change. There we go. Joe Palance. Hello. How are you? Question. Pulled 2 driver tips this weekend and saw they have a center filler or a centering plug. What is that all about? Can the tips be reused in Callaway and Titleist? Center filling plug. Oh, okay, center filling plug. So, what you're talking about quite possibly is a tip weight, okay? And a tip weight, and it's a piece that goes up into it. If it looks metal, it's a tip weight. If it's not, and it looks like a brownish, like a medium to dark brownish color, that's probably epoxy. And so the reason why you would see that is they will take and although this is not the tip, but what a lot of people will do is they will squirt a bunch of glue into here and then just very lightly coat the tip and push that in there. And when that goes down in there, that excess glue or excess epoxy's got to find a place to go, and it runs up into the middle of the shaft. And that happens quite a bit. So if you wanted to get rid of it, a very, very small drill bit and just run it right inside there, it'll eventually knock it loose. It very well may push it towards the end of the shaft. If it is the tip weight, just the ever slightest amount of heat, just a little bit, and it should knock it loose, and then you can pull it out with a pair of pliers. All right. Do you think the pros use different type of shafts depending on where they're playing? So if they are playing a very windy location, so they can use those to hit the ball lower. More to the point, Peter, it depends on where they're at in the season. If it is in the beginning of the season, they very well may have what they call a backup set, not necessarily just change the shafts, but have an identical set with a different set of shafts or even a different set makeup, right? They'll have the same setup, and maybe the lofts will be a little bit more stronger so they can keep it out of the wind, something along that lines. But I would think that, and if it's in the middle, no, they're going to keep that same set because they know exactly what that thing will do, and they can actually flight the ball. Most of those guys are that good. Yeah, what they'll do there, Matt, is they'll just go get a new club and they'll tell them grind this much off, blah blah blah, and they got themselves a new wedge. All righty, Seymour, what do you say, man? Had a question about tip stiffness. How can you identify if it's a hard tip or soft tip when you are looking at a driver shaft? While you're looking at it and you don't have any information, I don't know if you can. Now you can. I mean, if you're just looking at it, no, I don't know if there's really truly anything. Now, what will give it away in a lot of, and not again like golf shafts, not in every case, but if you see something that is low flight or even a little heavier than the average, chances are it's got a slightly firmer tip. If it's ultra light or if it's for a higher flight, you very well may find out that it has a softer tip section. That's the only giveaway that I could tell you without actually measuring it. All right. Missed a putt for a 66. Woo! You go, boy. Good job. Here's Matt's answer. Just try to birdie every hole I can. You know, and there's a lot of truth to that. The minute I decided I could start parring holes, the scoring average came way down. Maybe I need to convert over again. Greg's Garage. Here we go. Fabricate, design, customize. I like that. Good logo. How do you determine what swing weight you should use? Is that something that you need to go to a fitter for and you try out all the options, or is something you get close by looking at a chart? Well, I'm probably going to get hung for this one, Greg, but I don't determine swing weight. You do. And I know that sounds corny. However, there are just certain makeups, and I've talked about this in the other videos. Uh, Swing weight's going to be a function of the golf clubs. Okay. So if you come and we'll talk, and I've talked about this one at length. If you're, say, somebody that doesn't swing very fast and you have a more flexible shaft, which tends to make it lighter, and you need to make it shorter, right? You need to make it shorter. And we'll talk about an iron. Let's just say a 7 iron. It's half to three-quarters of an inch short, lighter shaft, heads the same, grips the same, everything. This thing's going to be light, right? Uh, and so all those combinations, if you were to put in, and sometimes the weight difference that you have to overcome with the lighter shaft and the number of, say, it's an inch short, let's just say inch short, and that it takes off, just can't be overcome by adding weight at the end of the tip. It just can't. Number one, they normally don't make it. And they say, well, you can just throw a little bit more stuff down the shaft. Why? Why would you do that? Number one, when you go and throw all this extra weight at the bottom, then you just change the characteristics of the shaft. You made it way more flexible. Now you got to trim more, which means that the thing's not going to play very close to the way it was designed in that particular club. Then you have all that weight down in the middle of in the heel, so now it's going to change the way it wants to play. And it just keeps multiplying. Now, does it mean you don't add any weight? No, not that at all. What I've found, and again, not all the time, but as the shaft gets a little bit lighter, people will tend to get more head feel. And so if you put, and I did this for a golfer in Pennsylvania, had to have D3, D3, put this 10-gram weight in it. And I put a 10-gram weight in it, and I told him that this club was made of unobtainium. And I get him as heavy as he can go. And I said, and he won't like it. So I put a 10-gram tip weight in it, made it as heavy as I could, sent it to him. Within 2 weeks, it was back in my shop, and I was taking them out and cutting the weight I added in half. And that's what it was. And so there's a feel presence to this. I hate to say artful, but that's kind of what experience gives you. All right. What shaft would you recommend for a TZ Mizuno driver with 95-mile-an-hour club head speed? Well, I would, if you want to hit it high, this one. And I'd probably go with a 60S since you're pretty close. If you want to hit it lower, then that guy. Now, that's only because I know that they will work. However, at 95, you're on that cusp, right? If you're a little bit aggressive, going with a nice, I wouldn't say, if it says something like tour level or pro this or something like that, probably not where you want to go. But if you see something that's 60-gram S, and the idea is that it's a comfortable shaft, you probably do pretty good with it. If you're an aggressive guy, then yeah, the Project X and those hazardous, the blacks and that kind of stuff, something along that lines. Would you recommend, Ross Carr, okay, here we go. Would you recommend a matching iron shaft or matching hybrid shaft in a TMB 4 iron? Well, depending on what you're going to do with it, Ross. If it was just being added to there and you made it a little bit more forgiving, I'd probably still put the iron shaft in it. If you're trying to make it into like this distance club, it's filling up a hole, like, okay, you're good at the 5, but you need it to go, you just need a little bit more oomph on it, then I would really consider into the hybrid range or a driving iron shaft for that matter. Fred Quartz. Hopefully I said that right. What is more important on a putter, swing weight or overall weight? Hello from Phoenix, and it's hot, but it's a dry heat. Oh, good one, man. Personally, I'm all about overall weight, right? You can get too head heavy, you can get too handle heavy. Hence, that's the reason why you see the Stroke Lab, it has graphite on one end and it has the steel on the other, and it gives it a much heavy head feel. And then they put a little bit of weight in the back, and that balances it back out. But now you have weight in the back of your hands, and it smooths things out. And in those, all those are very expensive putter shafts that you see, they got a lot of weight in the mid to upper section, so that you feel that stability in that section of the shaft. No, it's not you. Okay. Alan Campbell, what do you say, man? Is the Wilson D9 driver good upgrade from my Cortex with an Atmos R shaft, or a new shaft or a new shaft for my Cortex? Looking for more distance, of course, 90-mile-an-hour swing speed. Love my Cortex. I like the Cortex. I thought it was a nice little club. They actually made them a little shorter because those heads were heavy, right? They're just a little heavy. Now the Atmo, it depends on which one. There was a red and there was a black that came in those clubs, and if you're looking to get a little bit more out of it, you might go a little bit lighter, maybe. Now, as far as that goes, I think the D9 has got a little bit more active face with that reactive face that they've got on there, and I think that you would probably end up liking the D9 a little bit better. Keep in mind, it's going to feel different too, because there's a lot of head weight at the bottom of that Cortex, and where the other head's going to be a little bit lighter, so you're going to have to spread that weight out a little bit. But if you really like the club, don't take it out, man. Leave it alone. We will, sir. Listen next week. I'm sure we'll do it. It's either Stephanie or Stephanie. Stephanie. Ole. Ole. All right. That dude. Okay. This is cool. We got some new names out here, guys. I'm very interested in your question, Alan. I am a Wilson fan, long time. Quebec City. Okay. Yeah, Wilson does very good up in Canada. The D9 I have found works really, 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 really well for people with slower swing speeds. Say in that under 80 category. It's a bullet. It works better than a lot of the other ones do. It's not saying the other ones are bad. It's just that there's something about just simplicity at slower swing speeds. It works better. And I've had it work well for ladies. I've had it work well for older golfers, a whole 9 yards. Now, does it mean it's not going to work at a 90 mile an hour? No, not at all. If you're looking as an upgrade, I would say yes, very much that it is an upgrade. Just make sure you get the right length and the right shaft in it. All right. Jewel, what do you say? All right. How a tip weight in the butt end of the driver affects the driver. They call that butt weighting, Jewel. And it was a very common practice for long drive people. And it puts a lot of weight right here. And if you're an aggressive swinger, it is a wonderful thing. And what it does is pardon me, Jack Nicklaus used to do it. Okay. They put a little wooden plug in the back, drill it out, put molten lead in the back until it would harden up, and then put a grip on it. And he used to do it. Now, if you watch the way that he swings, but what it does is it puts a lot of weight here, and it creates a hinging so that you can pick up. The idea is that you pick up a little bit more clubhead speed, and when you pick up a little more clubhead speed, thing goes far. What I've also found out is that when you bring it back into here, you can track where it is in your swing, and it makes you just a tad more reliable. Now, if you're as smooth as syrup and you're swinging like that, you quite possibly will not like that. My dog Rex. Dude, I am all about this guy. I like his idea. What do you say, Mr. Millette? How are you, sir? Cam is the man, and I would have to agree. He played lights out, and he deserves the win. The new generation of Acura shafts. What's the equivalent of my FX 160 for my driver and FX 100 for my fairway wood? Probably this guy. the blue. And they come in that very same weight. In fact, this is a 160. It's the FX3. Little upgrade. I think they're a little more stable. And the same thing would go for the fairway wood. The numbers would be the same. I need to know what the M number is, and then you can just call and get a blue one. You think you'd be fine. There we go, Charlie. Mix it up and give us some variety with course views, sounds like make it interesting. That's what I think. Honestly, Charlie, that's kind of what I thought. I got, you know what? I did find after 9 holes and I'm doing it myself. There's nobody else helping me with taking video. Hint, Mrs. McGolf. And the how do I say it? Going, setting up the shot that you want, setting up the camera, making sure the audio's on, walking up, talking about it, pulling off the shot, getting back in your own head, pulling off the shot, hitting the shot out there, collecting up all your camera gear, putting it back in the cart, driving up to the next shot and doing it all over again. That thing wears you plumb out. So I got the first 9, almost 10 holes done, and I decided driving where I would narrate in the back and kind of have a flyover on half of it, and we'll see. So something to put together. We'll see. Non-existent human. Okay, on average, how much would it cost to repair a broken shaft stuck inside of a driver? Well, it's the cost of the driver shaft to put back in it, plus its grip, and then we have depending on what kind of driver it is. If it's a driver that's a bore through, it costs a little bit more. If it's a normal driver, say with a tip, or it's a bonded club, then it's a different cost for that. And that's what we do to make sure that happens. Matter of fact, you'll probably be able to see that in the video tomorrow. Oh, look, Krister. So how much did that cost you, man? Remember we were just talking about holes in one, right? We were just talking about it. So we know where the luck went to. Congratulations. All right. Chris, thanks for the info. No problem, buddy. Yeah, that's probably a little bit better. All right. You dunked it, huh? You jarred it. Nice. Corto Caro. Okay. Dude, I am all about this whole new names. I'm glad you guys are all on here. Let us know where you're from next time. How can I out an Aldila 350 shaft of a Ping O size on a Titleist? How can I out on an Aldila 350 shaft of a Ping O size on a Titleist 755 irons? Okay, so if an Aldila has a 350 shaft, okay, normally a 350 shafts belong in drivers. So the shafts that you may be talking about are 355. And that would make it a taper tip. And what this means on a Titleist 755 irons, if the shafts are a little bit bigger. So let's assume that they're all going to fit into the hosel, that they're 350s. So what you would have to do is once you get them glued in, then you just got to cut them to length if you're talking about being bigger as in longer. If you're talking about a 350 shaft and it doesn't fit in that Titleist 755, then something's not right. The numbers don't make sense. However, if you say if this iron shaft is a 370 and it won't go into the Titleist 790, because most Titleist irons are 355, and which is a taper tip. You have to ream the hosel out to accept the shaft. Big Al, Jim, we go play Royal Portrush. Nice. Whenever you come over, we will try that. Camera and show you the swing and where the ball lands. Oh, okay. And so on. Download an app for ball flight. My friend's extended irons. Okay. Yeah. So the half inch with the grip, I think you're going to come out okay. It won't be exact, but not enough to be so, oh, I can't feel this, I can't feel that. I don't see you doing that. Royal Portrush would certainly be a go do it kind of thing for sure. And I practiced that. I actually went out and did that, what you're talking about right there. And when I went and reviewed some of my swings, I had set it up and it was a good look at the ball. However, when I swing and I pull one, it goes right over top of me. So I got to figure out how to make that go. There we go. There we go. Where can I find aluminum red pieces for my 3 and 4 Titleist irons? Make myself if I can't buy those. In Argentina. Okay, Argentina. There's a new one. The red pieces for the Titleist in the irons. If you're talking about the back pieces like a badge, nobody makes those. If you're looking at the red pieces as in a ferrule that when you're going to install them, they go on top of the club, then GolfWorks here in the U.S. would sell something like that. Just need to get the length that you want and the length and the hosel diameter size. So if you just say you need a half of an inch or a 3/4 inch with a red for an iron, that you'll be fine. If they don't have anything, there's other places. Billy Bob's is in California, and there's another one called Grail Golf. They're on eBay. Try them. Zen Snake, good afternoon from South Texas. Nice. Thoughts on the Callaway Apex MB upgrading for my Dunlop Australian blades? Nice. Australian blades. I got a story on Australian blades. You will definitely not be disappointed. That I can assure you. That's the best way. That's the best thing. That's the best thing I can tell you, man. Is that you won't be disappointed. The Australian blades were freaking cool. They really were. But it'll be a much more forgiving. You'll actually hit a little bit longer because even from then to now, the blades have even gotten stronger. I like the sole a little bit more. But down in Texas, I don't think you have to worry about that too much. But it's definitely an upgrade. Story, Australian blades. So at one point, GolfWorks had something to do with Australian blades. And I'm not sure what it was. They were building the clubs for them or whatever. And they had a barn of which they used to sell old stuff out of. And I walked up, and there's this total bucket of club heads that are raw. I mean, no finish on them, no nothing. Still have the slag off the side and raw. I said, "How much for the bucket?" And they told me some ridiculously low price. And I said, "Looks like I'm buying these," because all I wanted to do was learn how to grind and polish. Turns out I bought a bucket of Australian blades, and I had enough to make easily a half a dozen sets. And that's what I did. I went together and I ground them down and I polished them up. And there's not the first bit of chrome on any of these, but they looked really shiny. And then I sandblasted the face. Very, very cool. In fact, I still got a few more I'm going to make into a lamp. So very cool. All right. Next week, I will go to my fitter to test the Avalon 6 Tour stiff shaft in the driver. The 6 is going to be a little more stiff and just a hair heavy. Lombard, Mr. Jack King, how are you, sir? Austin Analog says Ping will reshaft, and yes, they will. And he's not lying on that little note right there either. Darren, what do you say? Trying to lower swing weight in the irons, remove shaft to try and take out the tip hosel has a weight in it. If I remove will the shaft be short? It depends on the tip weight, Darren. In a lot of cases from the OEMs, the tip weight is just this little bitty sliver, just enough to go into the bottom. It almost acts like a hosel plug. And if you're doing that, I wouldn't sweat it a bit. Okay. There's another. Now, if you got one of these that's got this really big tip section at the bottom and you put it in, what you can do is, and people have done in the past, is if you have another shaft, you just cut a small section of it and just fit it in there like a sleeve, and that has something for the shaft to butt up against. Putting out 340 degrees, do you really need more distance? I know, right? Quebec City, first time online. Thank you. There you go. And the 6 will do that. All right. Do you do anything different when measuring putters on your bench ruler, trying to avoid reading the directions? I was getting a link that was different than it used to be. Yeah, I don't put it on my measuring. I use the old-fashioned ruler behind it. That's what I do. Now they do make some where the ruler dips down to make room for the very putter you're trying to look for. Mine just doesn't. Well, mine does kind of do that, but I still just stick it behind there and make sure it's at its playing position too. There you go. Quentin Walsh, how you got? I'd like to see and know club selections for distance and target. Okay, fair enough. Michael Barber, very warm UK, very good. So for all you guys in the UK, is this the time? Is this the time frame to visit, or is it this is what July now? Is July the time frame to visit, or is like a May to July time frame? I'm trying to get a better frame of mind. Stefan Willett. Ah, thank you, Stefan, very much. Oh, I'm getting this. We're still gonna make it down to the bottom. Jerry Smiley. I keep missing the live show because of the difference in time zones. Well, you made it this time, brother. Thank you. And you are more than welcome. All right. Yeah, they're the same thing, Ashley. They do the same. It'd be the M3 in the blue, 160 for going a little bit higher. Now, I think that the greens might actually come a little bit light like that too, if you're looking to lower it, but the blue would be closer to it. Man, look at here. We are rocking and rolling today. Awesome. Thinking about a Rogue ST Max, and well, you should. 80-mile-an-hour swing speed driver, distance approximately 200 yards. What shaft would you recommend? In the Rogue, for that, in order for you to help with a swing speed, they make a Cypher shaft. And the Cypher comes in a 40 and a 50 and a 60. But the 50 or the 40 would be the ones where I would look at. And don't be put off by the fact that they're lightweight. This thing is very stout in the butt. It can do a good job. If you like the 50 and it feels a little bit too boardy, then the 10C Blue, that's where I would go with that one. Hey, just stopped by. Nacho P. Love your channel. Greetings from Uruguay. Hey, nice. Man, we're all over the map today. Good job. No problem. Oh yeah. Yes, you can. Yeah, you can. And in the pink, although Corto, hopefully I'm saying that right. If they were in the Ping i3s, they should be the same. They should be the same. What you're probably finding is make sure you clean out the hosel very, very well. And then you can just sand ever so slightly. It should fit just really quick. Argentina. All right. Good for you. Well, I'm sorry that you have the bad rules of government. Yep, that's it. I use the ruler. All right. What could you do? What you could do is make up a bracket for the camera and GoPro and attach it to the screen of the buggy, and You know what? I've got one. It's called a magic arm. I thought about that. I truly did. I just was afraid that the camera would fall off. Uh, and that's the reason why. So, and I really did consider that at one time. And very well, if this thing becomes a thing, I'll break that bad boy out. I don't think so, homie. We're almost done.
Or you forget it on the golf cart.
Or well, that was yeah. Or I'll forget it on the golf cart. So here's what I'm telling on myself. So I'm telling on myself story. One more answer, and then we're done. So I bought a Blue Tees rangefinder, and I've had the other one. Very nice rangefinder. Let's give us a new chance because it had the magnet, amongst other things. I like the display better. And I used it for a grand total of one round when I was golfing with Bob down in Alabama. And I left it on the golf cart, never to be seen again. And I waited and I waited and I waited, and they had another sale. And I said, you know what? I think I'm going to get another one. And I got another one. And it lasted a grand total of 3 rounds. And I left it on the cart out at Crown Hill. And so somebody else has got another Blue Tees. Nobody's turned it in. Damn it. And so now I've refurbished my other one, and it's back in the bag. And Mrs. McGolf has sworn me off of rangefinders until I can figure out what to do. So there I am. Big Al, June, July, August, best weather over here in Ireland, UK. Very good. We'll try that. I read today that it was so hot in the UK today it was melting one of their runways. Oh my goodness. For phone camps. Okay. I'm so glad I'm not the only person losing stuff on the golf course. Oh yeah, I when it comes to that one thing, Austin, that one thing, for some reason if I don't put it right back in the pouch, I'm going to lose it forever. And I get to thinking that I was really the reason why is I was so intent on putting all my camera stuff back that I just never got to the other part of it. All righty. Here we go. Oh, no problem. Thanks for joining us, man. This is great. We're from around the world. And Fred, thank you very much. Okay. So in Dublin, 35 degrees. Wow. Okay. So we've went around the world, all over the U.S., up into Canada, down south, over to east. Man, it has been awesome. This was a really, really good time, guys. I really very much appreciate the fact that you've taken the time to actually ask questions, and I'm appreciative of the fact that I can actually answer them. Again, remember, like and subscribe. Watch the video tomorrow. I think it'll be interesting, and we will get some more content out after that. As always, let's see your scores go low.